Okay, I'm back working on my 2005 Nissan Quest here today, and I'm going to be replacing this throttle body on here. I've got a part here already. It's just a used one that I picked up from a salvage yard, so we're going to be trying this thing out. Okay, so I was going through the codes on here, fixing a lot of things, and we come up with this PO 507 idle air control, and this thing has been confirmed several times, and it does have a little bit of a high idle, basically. And the reason that I'm looking at this here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got the hood up here. The first thing that we're going to do is just get our air box here out of the way. So we're going to go ahead. Now, if you've got one of these covers, you probably got some bolts in here. These are all missing, so I can't really tell you what size those are, because when I got this, they were already gone. It's probably going to be like an 8 or 10 millimeter, but this thing will just pull out of here and wiggle out, and we'll be able to get under here to get this stuff a little easier. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just take some pliers and get a hold of this clamp right here with this hose, and we're going to pull that back out of the way, and this thing should just wiggle right off of there. Now, the next thing we'll do is come over here. We're going to have a sensor right here. Go ahead and remove that, and we're going to also need to remove this negative cable right here, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we've got that negative cable off of there. We're going to go ahead and pop these down for our air filter. So we got both of those, and this has just got some little plastic pieces that pop into this here, so they kind of push out. And if you break one, don't be surprised. These things are really brittle. My back one's already broken. But the next thing we're going to do before we go to moving that is get up in here. If you come back and follow the end of this flex hose, we've got a 10 millimeter right back there, so we're going to go ahead and get that loose. Okay, so I'm just getting up in here with a little bitty ratchet wrench. Seems to work out about the best. And then once you get it loose, it's usually pretty easy. Just get it loose enough to pull this back here. So that should be plenty enough. So now this is going to be stuck a little bit, so you are going to have to pull on this, and we're going to get it out from under the our air filter nubs here. Before we do that, just pull that back like so. So we got this loose, we got our connector off, we've got this hose loose here, so we should be able to pull on this down here and get this to come loose. I said sometimes they can stick from the heat and everything, but it will come loose. So there we have it, and it's just a matter of just wiggling it on out of here. We'll set that aside. Okay, so now we can get on in here. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this going into the throttle body. Just push in right here as hard as you can. You should hear a little bit of a click. Okay, so we'll just push that out of the way there. Okay, so now what we're going to need to do is we've got 4 Torx that you can see there, or actually these may be Allens. I thought they were Torx. But we're going to go ahead and get the right size Allen. We've got 4 of them. We got 1, there, and then we got one that's kind of hard. I'll show you that's right back here in the back, right there. So we got 4 of those. So we're going to go ahead and find the right size here and get to taking those out. Okay, so I've determined this is a number 5 metric that fits this. Now you could use an Allen wrench like this, however these are very tight, so I'd recommend getting one for your ratchet with like an extension. It's going to work out much better. Otherwise you're going to get a little cheater pipe on here because these are pretty tight. I have got this little tool right here, and that's what I'm going to be using, and I think I can break them loose just fine with this. I've broken loose some pretty tight ones, so we're just going to go through here and break them loose first, one at a time. Okay, so I've got those loose there, and you'll notice this bottom one's got a little bracket right there, so we're going to want to put that back. Whatever the purpose of that was for, we'll want to put that back. But I've got a magnet here so I don't lose this. These are completely loose. We're just going to wiggle them out of here without losing anything here. So there is the first one, and as I said, I've got 3 of them here loose, and I've just left, I'm getting this one in the back here that's hard to see. I've left that top one in a little bit so it doesn't just fall off of there. And this is that little bracket. So you definitely want to get you a little magnet to keep you from dropping. The last thing you want to do is drop your bolts down in there, and sometimes you just never find them. They can land on the engine and go into places you'd never think. Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to go ahead and get a hand on it here. This is completely loose, so we'll go ahead and bring it out here. And we'll just take it over here to our bench. So this come off the same exact gear. The only problem with getting a used one, you don't know the condition, so it could be that I have problems with this one here as well, but I'm going to hope that it's actually still working right. And see, there's not a lot of carbon buildup, a little bit of oil and stuff on this side, but it's not just really bad. So now we're just going to go ahead and get this one in there. It's got a looks like the gasket stuck on the other part there, but this one already has a gasket on it. But we'll look at the other one, see which one's in the better shape. Okay, so I'm getting ready to feed this back up in here. I've just started that one bolt back just to kind of hold this gasket from falling. I'm just going to use one hand and just kind of keep a hold on that. It probably would be a good idea to take a little dab of RTV and kind of stick it before you do this, but I'm not going to do that at this point. I have no idea how good this is going to be. Okay, so I've just set that back up in there, and I got that one started a little bit, and just make sure this side with your plug is on that side, going just like that. So this is just going to plug right back into here. So we're just going to go ahead and work on getting our other bolts in here. Okay, we got one that's going back here, and this will try to. We're also going to want to make sure, because I didn't silicone that gasket, we're going to make sure that we get that line back up and the bolts going through it properly here. Okay, so I was just snugging down the final 5mm Allen bolt there, and I'm not going to be tightening these very tight. Yeah, this is going in to to aluminum, so you don't want to tighten these a whole lot. You can, these are small bolts, you can strip these, so I wouldn't go very tight with them. I'm not even going to worry about the torque because I'm just going to be snugging them down a little bit. I'm not going to tighten them that tight. These things probably aren't going to be very much, like maybe 8 or 10 foot-pounds or so on this, but I haven't looked it up. But we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to snug these down by hand a little bit with my little tool, and that's going to be good enough just to where it's just snug. We'll check them all four, and it's really not that bad getting up in here. I mean, it looks like it's cramped, but you've got plenty enough room to get in here to this. It's just kind of back underneath the cowl and everything here. I will say that it would be better to take a little dab of RTV and put on that gasket, because my gasket tried to fall around them and I had to reline it and get the bolt lined up, so it'd be much easier while you're at it just to put a little dab of RTV to hold it, just so it's not moving around. And you can see I'm just tightening these by hand like this. I'm just checking all four of them. We're not just getting carried away with it, and this will be good enough. And trying to find that rear one again. So that's plenty tight enough right there. This thing is not going anywhere. So we're going to go ahead now and just put everything else back together. We'll get our connector right here. Just give it a push till it clicks. And then we got that. So now at this point we're just going to go ahead and get our air box back over here and slip it back into place. Okay, so I'm just working this back in here, and I'm kind of looking up in here to kind of line it with that, but we also want to make sure that we're looking here. See, my back one had broken a long time ago when I was changing the air filter. These things are really brittle, but we want to slide these. They kind of almost hinge, but and it would be easier to probably take this loose, but it's just an extra step. But it will push on here. They will push under there like this. So we're going to get that, and then we're going to reach down here and just push and wiggle and make sure we got our little band pushed back up here where we can get our ratchet to it. We're just going to push that and wiggle it on as far as it'll go. And that's pretty good right there, actually. And then once we got that, we'll just slip this back onto here. We're going to go ahead and just tighten up this band back here. Get it tightened back up. And it'll try to slide around on you. You'll just have to pull it back up to where you need it there. We'll go ahead and snug this up so it's not moving. You don't want any leaks. And you will need to put this on before you go to testing this out, because your MAF sensor, it will not want to run. And that's in here. And we need to go ahead and get that reconnected. Just like that. Snap that back into place, and then we'll just reconnect this hose, our blow by. And now we'll just need to clip this back down and we'll be done with this. Okay, so we just put our little clamp back right there. Now we're just getting ready to put our negative cable back on, and we're just going to go ahead and tighten that up now. By the way, that little clamp that was back on the throttle body, it wasn't attached to anything, so I didn't even bother with putting that back. So I've got everything reconnected. We're going to go ahead and try this thing out. We'll need to get our cover back on here. Okay, so I've ran it and it appears to be working fine for now. Only time will tell if this code is going to come back. I took that code out and we're just going to wait and see if I have it throw another code. The good thing about getting a used part like that, in this case, you know, I'm pretty sure that it has something to do with that throttle body, but if it doesn't, I wasn't out a whole lot on the part. So anyways, that's going to conclude this video on replacing that, and hopefully that can help somebody out. If you found it helpful, give it a like. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thank you for watching.